Hi everybody, it's Dana Brigman. I wanted to spend a little time today talking about teaching your dog to sit. This is not going to be teaching the act of getting the bottom on the ground. I'm assuming that all of you have done that already, that your dog knows that when you say the word sit or give a hand signal that his hiney hits the ground. Where I see that we have a problem with a lot of dogs is they don't hold the stay, and then we don't use the skill in everyday life. We don't use it for a number of things that are really important to help with creating a calm dog, a calm state of mind, and a dog that really gets under control instead of being energized, aroused, overexcited, that sort of thing. So we're going to work on a couple of skills today using the sit command and having you guys implement that in your home. So for all of you, again, that are dealing with dogs who have this high arousal, this overexcitement about going outside and into the real world, or when company comes over, we're going to start working on resolutions. Excuse me. Every time I start talking, this happens. So, Poppy, sit. So, you're going to ask your dog to sit. Again, we're assuming they know how. If they don't sit when you've cued them, you're going to use a leash, and you're going to introduce a no marker, an error marker, that says that's not what I asked you for. So I would basically say, no, sit. No, sit. Now I blocked that from correcting Poppy, and I basically gave the correction to my hand. So a little doink on the leash, no, sit. So I just want to add a little emphasis to my error marker. The way she comes out of sit is she gets a release cue or a new command. Most people don't initiate a release cue. Mine is okay, meaning you're free to move. Okay. Good girl. Sit. Okay. Sit. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Sit. Okay. Sit. Okay. Good. Good girl. So you need to practice those repetitions of sit, release, sit, release, sit, release, inside, outside, in a lot of different places. What we are introducing to them is the language and the motion. Sit, honey hits the ground. Okay, we're free to move. And we're going to do repetitions of that. Okay? Once that part is going well, we're going to ask them to sit. No, sit. And we'll add a little footwork. Just one little movement. And then we'll release. Okay. Okay, good girl. Sit. A little footwork. Okay. Okay. Good girl. So I'm trying to make sure that on okay, she actually moves out of position. If you can only move one foot, then that's all you move. If you can't make the dance start to happen, literally move one foot and release, okay? What we're trying to help them understand is that our movement has nothing to do with them. So you'll notice that I don't typically say stay. We're either in command or we're not. And so we're working on the cue and the release. And what I do in between is really nothing more than either adding a distraction, adding some duration, or adding some distance. And you're going to start to work on each of those incrementally. Poppy, sit. So you want to be able to add a little footwork. If she breaks command while I'm moving, I'm simply going to stop, no, sit, get her back in position. I will move again, and then I'll release her. Okay. Okay. Good girl. Good girl. We need to make sure they understand the release is what they're waiting for, that the release is actually they can get out of position. In time, once I've said the word okay, if she doesn't get up, I'm not going to worry about it. But for teaching purposes, for these early phases, I want her to really understand that okay means she can move. Poppy, sit. Your goal should be to be able to walk all the way around her, or hold that command. So this is us adding a distraction, right? You should be able to start to step back to the end of your regular leash, take a little break, make a phone call, look at your calendar, check Facebook, watch TV, and build this time into 5 or 6 minutes. You won't get that day one necessarily, but that becomes part of your goal. So we've got distraction is us moving, duration is us standing still, and we can be anywhere around them. And then distance will come later when we change the length of the leash. Okay? So as you're practicing all of this, be sure that you spend a little time behind your dog, because eventually we're going to use that for a lot of this work that has them arousing and excited with stuff that's out in front of all of us. So you want to be able to be behind them and offer that release from behind, or start to even actually introduce them to the recall command, but we're not working on that today. So our goal is to really build a good stay. When you've got this, go outside. Practice sit, stay in the driveway, in the backyard, practice it down the hall, in the guest bedroom. Practice it everywhere so that they understand the rules apply in all places. Okay? Okay. Good girl. Now, where are we going to use this? One of the big places is at the door, and one of them is at feeding time. So I'm going to show you the exercise at the door. And the feeding protocol is exactly the same, except instead of the door opening and closing, the food bowl would be coming up and down, right? So what we want is a dog that waits at the door for permission to exit. Your goal really is that the dog does not exit that door without permission. This is how we really stop door bolting and dogs understanding that thresholds have meaning. But the basics are, we're going to bring the dog and put them in a position that is easy for us to get that door open without knocking into them. So technically right now, if I open this door, we would crash into Poppy. So really what I want is for her to be over here a little further and hold her sit. Okay, come on. Okay, so I'm going to move her. Sit. She's back a little bit, which is fine. You're going to have some doors that are up, some dogs that are trying to really rush the door. And we're going to work on this exercise with a lot of repetition, right? A lot of repetition. You'll find a number of people who get 1 rep and they're out. But I want you to do multiple reps before you ever really go through or stay on the other side of the door. So, dog's in a seated position. If when you touch the doorknob they stand up, you're going to do that same no sit correction we talked about. No, sit. A little doink on the leash. No, sit. When you start to open it, she thought about standing up and changed her mind. When you open it, if they stand up, you're going to say no, sit, and close the door. So start to prove to them that they're not actually going out without compliance of what we're asking them to do. So you'll have a dog that's sitting there in like total anticipation, right? This is the dog that we're going to work and stay here with the door open for quite a while and maybe close the door and take the leash off and walk away. That's the dog that we're going to start teaching right here to not anticipate what will happen next. So we ask them to sit. We'll correct them if they don't or if they break. Door opens. My footwork can take place again. I should be able to walk out. I should be able to walk back in. Okay, good. And I should be able to come back in the house. Let's go. Come on. I know, that's your supper. Come on. Sit. Sit. Many of you will do this. Good girl. And you're gonna go ever so slow, right? Trying to hope and will them to stay in position. It's just better if we're natural, right? Open the door. If they break, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You've got them on a leash. They will start out, you'll say, nope. The moment that they hit the end of the leash, bring them back, ask them to sit. So don't feel like you've got to inch your way. Just open the door. Okay? For some of you, the exercise is going to be to do duration. No, sit. Duration right here. And that's going to be hard for a lot of dogs. I want you to be able to have them sit and wait, and that whole anticipation, that whole arousal thing they've got going on gets diminished. It shifts gears down a level or so before we move out. So we can't fix the walk. We can't fix the leash reactivity. We can't fix the pulling on the leash if we have a dog that goes out overexcited, overutilized, over-aroused. So start here doing some of the basic work. Okay? Okay, Poppy. Okay. So remember I said the exercise is the same as the food. The only difference about the food is I don't always have them on a leash. And I will end the meal, meaning they won't get their food if they're over demanding. Meaning they paw at the bowl, they jump up, they start barking at me. Anything that is really considered over exuberant, over the top in a demand for that food, I will put it away. And I will do food in multiple portions. So let's say they're going to get a cup of food at each meal. I'll divide that into at least 4, maybe 5 or 6 small portions, so just little handfuls of food in there. And I'll do the exercise, asking them to sit and wait for that release cue to get it. The first time you do it, it might be the food bowl going down simultaneously with the word okay. And then over the course of the week, the food bowl goes down, you step away, and you pause for a minute. Build your way to pausing for a minute or so before you release them. This is a really good place, especially for those dogs that are excited about eating, to create some impulse control. As we get good at this, I'll start to change what they're required to do, and I'll even start to recall them away from the bowl before they get it, and that's real impulse control. So these are some basics of where you need to start using your sit command more effectively and in your everyday life in order to be able to use it out in the real world when they are highly distracted and highly excited. Let me know if you have any questions.